Hi, this is Linda Shea with Drilling Contractor. I'm at the 2024 IADC HSE Sustainability Europe Conference in Rotterdam. I have with me Mr. Cliff Thoburn, who is Head of Intelligence for RMI Global Solutions. He gave a presentation at the conference today about physical risks to drilling assets. Thank you for being here, Cliff.
Thanks very much for having me.
So in the presentation you gave today, you talked about how the qualitative advantages that our industry used to enjoy to protect itself are now gone. Can you kind of explain what you meant by that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I think in short, Linda, that the organisations that are encompassed in the drilling industry have enjoyed the tacit support of our governments and our militaries and our intelligence agencies to keep them safe over many years. Now, with the growth of threats, the way that technologies are changing, the power of encrypted communications and interest groups that may not have a particularly good view of the industry, you have a multitude of threats facing you, not just from state actors, but from protest groups and others who now have the opportunity, wherever you might be operating in the world, onshore and offshore, to disrupt you or to do you some harm. And it is that pace of change that we've seen over the last 48 months, really, that is the point that I was making in the presentation today.
So Cliff, you also talked about the rise of airborne drones around the world. Can you talk about some of the considerations for our industry and maybe some of the mitigation strategies?
Yes, thanks. Of course I will. I'll try and keep it short, but as a bit of background, we have seen over a number of years and very recently the way that drone technologies have developed and they're being used by militaries in Ukraine and in Russia against each other. And we are also, of course, seeing how drones are being operated by the industry for perfectly legitimate purposes. So we're now in a position where there is a possibility of bad actors using a drone to deliver a payload against members of the industry, potentially hiding them in plain sight because they are aware that you are using drones in the industry. And often, the locations where the industry is working is well away from other human beings, is out at sea or is in remote locations. And drones provide the perfect opportunity for an actor to move over long distances, to observe, to make a decision, and then if they wish to conduct some form of action against you. So that is how they might be used. As far as mitigation is concerned, it's really important that you understand the threat. I'm not trying to overplay this. Drones aren't a threat everywhere, but they certainly are a threat to you in some locations, particularly in higher risk areas, maybe where the Lloyd's Joint Warfare Committee has discussed there are threats, maybe where intelligence tells you that there is conflict and war, or if you have identified single interest groups who have taken a particularly negative view either of that location or of that particular industry, they may well be minded to use a drone to disrupt your activity. But having the intelligence to tell you that threat and inform your board level members and those below them, I think is the most important part of the mitigation in the first instance.
You also talked about uncrewed surface vessels and how they're becoming an emerging threat. Can you kind of give us a brief exploration of that?
Yes, of course. So I think on two levels we can talk about that. So most obviously, and many people will have observed it in the news, the terrible crisis that's going on in the Red Sea and shipping being attacked by the Houthis using all manner of missiles and airborne drones to strike vessels. They've also recognised that that is difficult to achieve, and Western military technology, particularly the United States, is shooting down and destroying a number of the launchers and the missiles. So they have adapted their technologies and have realised, okay, we're at sea, we can move lots of small vessels around without anyone really recognising and knowing what's happening. And they can then use an uncrewed surface vessel with a mothership directing it against a large commercial vessel, and we saw that most recently when the MV Sunion was attacked, holed several times and is still on fire and adrift and is being recovered in the Red Sea. So there's a great example of pretty low technology looking at how to mitigate threats that are being put against them and deliver a capability. I think if you look separately in the war between Russia and Ukraine, with the support of military technology, the Ukrainians have delivered a very capable uncrewed surface vessel platform that is able to strike against warships and against Russian-owned fixed infrastructure in the hydrocarbon extraction arena. And that is, albeit military grade, is the very highest level of the threat that you might see. And as I discussed in the presentation this morning, if you look in certain areas of the internet, you can now buy a reverse engineered version of one of these drones for several $100,000. So if a bad actor really wanted to deliver a capability against the industry, they could buy something relatively cheaply that's going to do 40 knots or more and could do either significant harm or cause a pretty significant disruption effect and sell quite a powerful message that they are against your industry and what it's doing. So that's the rise of the uncrewed surface vessel, and one I think definitely to watch over the coming years.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of emerging, increasing threats that we need to consider. So thank you for bringing those to our attention. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, that's no problems. You know, it's an area which we in RMI are particularly interested in, and please give us a call and we'll see how we can help out. But it was great to talk to you. Thanks very much.
And thank you for visiting us on drillingcontractor.org.